Did you have a happy birthday?
Yes, I did. I did absolutely nothing.
That's a happy birthday.
That is exactly what I wanted to do.
It's from heaven.
Doesn't happen very often, but
Well, you guys ready or not, I guess?
well, I mean, it's maybe a little anticlimactic in that we practiced, for 10 days a month ago. So, but yeah, I think they're excited to go.
How much did the earlier practices help just getting everybody acclimated, especially the new guys?
Well, I think it was great for Issa and Beetle, and and then Beetle got hurt. Tavon obviously wasn't here, so I think the other guys, it was just kind of a refresher, and it was a whole lot more laid back. So.
With Beetle out, does that change up anything you want to do at point guard? Does it mix up the rotation at all? Or?
Justin, he played really well in the Bahamas. So, and I think he, I think we probably came in thinking that JC was going to be the point guard or Tariq, and Beetle played really well. And but those other guys haven't played bad by any stretch. I don't know. It's I think the thing that we worried about with Beetle was just the physicality of college basketball, and him not being but 100 and whatever, 60 pounds. But he played against grown men down there, and I thought did a really good job. So it hurts us a little probably, but I think in the long run it's not a bad thing for him to have another year to grow and mature.
You were saying when you had to put JC at point last year, it kind of affected his shooting. Do you still kind of have that concern going into this year at all? Or?
I had it. We talked about that. He and I have talked about that, and he doesn't think it will at all. I mean, I think last year he just was a little overwhelmed. He had never really played there. That was Wani and Gary, and so I think he'll be fine. He's been fine. He's done a good job, to this point, and we can always play Tariq and get him off the ball as well.
Have you determined style yet? And you're not quite as deep without Gary and Jawan in the backcourt. Can you do everything you did without that depth?
I think so. We're going to be a little smarter. But, yeah, I think so.
Smarter in terms of fouls, especially?
Yeah, I mean, we just got to get better. We got to get better. Our angles sometimes weren't very good. We made some dumb, careless fouls. We just got to do a little bit better job of being more cognizant, I guess, of not getting in foul trouble. We fouled some people in traps, which you should never do. And again, our angles were bad, and so I don't know that we can put as much pressure on maybe the inbounds pass as what we did. I'm not sure. I mean, I think at the end it came down to who created the contact, to a large degree.
You said when it came out that you weren't a big fan of a 30-second clock.
Mm-hmm.
You thought about it a little bit more. Have you?
I'm still not a big fan of it.
Still not a big fan of it.
Mm-hmm. Seemingly every time you turn on the TV, the greatest Final Four of all time was Villanova beating Georgetown, and they shot it 7 times in the second half, or 11 times, or something like that. Everybody seemed like that. If they want to increase scoring, tell people don't play pack line anymore. No, it's not us. It's not playing the way we play. That's not holding scoring back. I mean, I just think we're going about things the wrong way. Or let's just do like soccer does, at the end. Let's just line them up, have a free throw shooting contest like they have the.
Well, you did a few times last year.
Well, we did, yeah. Not on purpose, though, Bob. It wasn't on purpose. I'm talking about do it on purpose.
What is Issa? 4, 3, both?
I think he could play two, 3, or 4. He rebounded it. I think he wasn't there our second leading rebounder. I think second leading rebounder in the Bahamas. He can rebound it. Obviously he guarded a bigger guy in high school, but I think he's capable of guarding on the perimeter.
For most of your players last year was their first time in that type of pressing offense. Can you expand that in any way this year? Are there things to add or to do differently?
Yeah, I think we can. I think we can do more things. We're only going to get the only guys that haven't done that really are Issa and Tavon, but Tavon, they kind of played that way in junior college, and Issa got the benefit of the practices and the 3 games in the Bahamas, so they've got an idea. I think we can change the pressure different ways.
Bob, did you say 2 for Issa?
2 what?
2, 3, and 4, you said?
Yeah.
Shooting guard, man. Is that offensively or defensively that you see that being a weapon for you?
I think he can end up being, when I got here and we started talking about playing Deshaun at 2, everybody said Deshaun at 2, but Deshaun ended up being a pretty good shooting guard. In fact, a real good shooting guard. But I think he's like Day was. I think he's capable of playing. We could play Day at 4. We played Day at 1 for a while when Joe was hurt and Truck struggled there for a few games. Deshaun played point guard.
Where does Devin fit on your chart of big guys, and what are the expectations for him this year?
Well, I think in a lot of ways, he obviously Wani, but he was a go-to guy for us. I mean, we threw him the ball when we needed baskets, and I think our guys had so much confidence in him getting us second shots, and I don't see why that would change. He seems to be a little bouncier than he was a year ago. So, I think Devin's a guy that we're gonna depend on to score the ball when we need baskets.
You see him maybe growing up in the NCAA tournament a little bit the way he played Maryland and Buffalo and some of those teams.
I thought he played really well. I mean, the offensive rebounds he got the Buffalo game won the game. And I think he'll continue to do that. I think he's shooting the ball better. He's bouncing it better. And I think more importantly, Johnny's passing the ball better. He and I have talked about the guys that are really hard to guard are guys that are great passers. Like you think, Larry Bird, how well, and that's what people talked about, how well he passed the ball. Well, it's hard to run and double. It's hard to try to get the ball out of his hands when he can find, an open guy. When I had Kenyon, he was that way. Kenyon could really, really pass the ball, and Devin is getting better and better and better at that, and that just freezes the defense and lets him get isolated a little bit more.
You say bouncier, he's getting off the floor better, is that what you're saying? Why do you think that is?
Well, I think he's had a good summer. I'm sure fresh legs has something to do with that too, but I think he's had a really good summer. He's had a good summer in the weight room. you look at him, he's not carrying around any extra weight. I think he's really lean. I think he's as lean as this is the leanest he's ever been. But he's still 260 something, you know.
How does Holton and those other guys fit around Devin and make him better?
John shot the ball really well this summer, really well. Hopefully, if John can shoot the ball the way he has shot the ball this summer, that'll really help. Then that'll really help Devin, because that'll just spread everybody all that much more.
We talk about Holding shooting the ball from three, or so. I mean, he's extended.
Well, he's just getting the ball up. I mean, he just shot it so flat, and he's getting the ball up over the rim now so much better. Nate's shooting it so much better, but I think a lot of Nate's deal is his wrist is better. I think from what he says, he doesn't have any pain.
Holton's kind of an X factor.
Well, I mean, he's one of the guys when you talk about we got to get smarter and not get ourselves in foul trouble. He's one of those guys. He pretty much spent a year in foul trouble, and a lot of them were fouls that are avoidable. Some of them aren't avoidable, you know. And you know, Justin, my dad used to say, how many fouls you get, and everybody'd say 5, and he said, no, you don't. The 5th one, you're out. You get 4. You're allowed to foul 4 times. You're not allowed to foul 5. And they're gonna miss some. I mean, that's been since the beginning of basketball. They're gonna miss some. They're like everybody. They're not perfect. They're like everybody else. So if they miss a couple, you're really talking about you have 2 fouls. Yeah, it's not very many.
How different is your press when he's off the floor?
It's different. And we don't have near as much pressure at the point of it with him out. I just looked at it. His deflections. I mean, his deflections were, even in the little bit of time that he played, his deflections per minute were off the charts.
How much more can you get out of Elijah this year, and where's he at in his development?
Well, he had a great summer until about a week ago, and then he hurt his back, and he was sick yesterday. So we just got to stay healthy. I mean, that's been a problem. I mean, you know, he's broken his wrist twice, and so we just, if he stays healthy, he's in the best shape he's ever been in. He's running so much better. He's jumping so much better. And we just got to somehow try to keep him well.
What's the first day like for you after all these years of first days of practices? What like for you?
Oh, it's different now. You know, we'd never had the summer stuff before. It was once every 4 years you got to practice them in the summer when you went on a trip. So, I mean, we went yesterday. You know, you get your 2 hours a week, and then we'll go. Obviously, we're going to start tomorrow. But I think what they've done is really a good thing. I think being able to pick the days when you want to practice, it's not like it used to be. It used to be, you know, whatever day you started on, you went 6 straight days and then took a day off, you know, and then 6 more straight days and took a day off because you had so much to get in and in a short period of time. This is so much better. It's so much better for them. I think they're fresher, you know, mentally and physically fresher. But we're around them, and, you know, it used to be like freshmen come in, they were like totally hands off. You couldn't do anything with them. You know, where now it's so much better. You know, the relationship you have, they know kind of what's coming. You know, it's just different.
You guys have a scrimmage set up this year?
Yeah, we're going to scrimmage Temple. Mm-hmm.
Coach, thoughts on the new alternate jersey you guys showed?
Oh, did you see it already? Well, when I went to Kansas State, Brad Underwood, when Brad was my assistant, Brad was always K-State when Brad played there, and K-State, because when you take the head and shoulder photos and the photos that everybody sees, it says Kansas. You can't see the state, and it occurred to all of us, and actually Matt Borman brought it up, which is shocking that he had an original idea, but all you see is the West. You don't see West Virginia, and I think the Flying WV has become so synonymous. Is that the right word, Miss? Synonymous with West Virginia athletics that this seems like a natural thing. And now that the NCAA is kind of letting you be a little more creative, I guess, with the jerseys, I thought it made a lot of sense.
Bob, do you ever foresee these preseason scrimmages being televised as a revenue source, or is it better that they're not?
Which that's just adding another game. I think there are people who think that we maybe ought to cap it at some point, because it has continued to grow more. I don't think in a scrimmage situation. I mean, in the last 15, 20 years, think how many changes they've had. We could only play like the athletes in action, and then all of a sudden you could play AAU guys, and then all of a sudden then that got a little, people were a little misguided in what the purpose of that was. How's that for being pretty political? And then it was foreign teams. You could only play foreign teams, and
The Soviets coming over, that was good.
yeah,
Good stuff.
yeah, it was good.
How cooperative are you in these? Can you say, give me some zone, I want to see some zone, or do you do that, or you just basically approach it as a game and whatever you...
I really haven't. I don't want to tell somebody else how to coach their team. We played it. What we have done is pretty much play a game, and then we do some situations. And if you want to play against some zone in those situations, then we do that. But I mean, we pretty much, John, you need to play a game. Guys need to play and figure it out. They need, they've gone from the last game of the previous season without an official. So you get little too active with your hands and stuff sometimes, and so I think that's as important as anything.
Go back to Holton. When you want him to foul less, how do you teach him to do that? Because he's not fouling on purpose when he's out there, and he can count to 5, so he can figure out that he shouldn't be doing it. Number one, and number two, without taking away his aggressiveness on the defensive end.
His technique's got to get better. The better your technique, I think, the less chance there is to foul. And I think it's angles, Bob. It's pursuit angles. Our pursuit angles have to get better. Instead you don't run right at a guy, you run at a pursuit angle, and that gives you a little more. If you have a little more space, you have a little bit more reaction time.
If he's not reaching, if you're not reaching and doing that, there's less deflections.
Not necessarily.
Right.
No, not necessarily. We want to get deflections kind of out of the air more than, reach in, try and steal the ball.
No change for Brandon? Status-wise, you still expect a redshirt, or has that changed?
I think he's getting better, but I don't know. That's the question for Doc. I don't know, but I know like 2 weeks ago he couldn't dunk, and now he's back to where he's starting to get a little bit of bounce back, and And I think he's his confidence in his knee, I think, continues to grow. I don't know. We need to start bringing his banged up swear. We need to start bringing Doc in here for a press conference.
What's the plan for Tavon Myers, and how do you see him fitting in?
Well, he's struggling. I mean, but who didn't know that was going to happen? You know, you miss the whole summer. Other guys have 10 practices in 2 hours a day, and he's a talented kid. He's a very talented kid that he's quite frankly put himself behind the 8 ball, you know, because of just the experience thing. And you know, it's not that he can't figure it out. I think he can, but it's going to take a lot more effort on his part. He's going to have to look at some film. You know, he's going to have to learn some things. And I guess it's not any different than anybody else. They decide how much they play. I don't. You know, I obviously try to play the guys that are going to win.
Would you consider a redshirt there, or?
I don't know. I think it at some point comes down to it's a numbers deal too.
You go through the practices and then the tempo and more practices. When the season starts, all the changes that are going on with it, there's an adjustment point when the season starts. Don't you think that the first couple games, it's not like you guys are just going to be able to just jump right into the season and say, oh, okay, yeah, we're used to all this and shot clock and the way the games are being called. We're ready to go. I can't imagine it's going to be like that right from the get-go.
No, but honestly, Justin, I think the biggest thing that happens early in the year is I don't care how much you run, it's not basketball shape. And that's another reason why the scrimmages are important, the exhibition games are important, is you got to get in basketball shape. And you know, when you're not in basketball shape, you have a tendency to foul more, you have a tendency to throw the ball away more, you have a tendency not to make as many shots. I mean, there's a lot of things. I think that's as much as then they pick up some bad habits in the summer a little bit sometimes, but I think we can throw 5 guys out there that can play. Now, how long they can play, I don't know, but they'll have it figured out. I mean, you think how much experience JC and Dax got a year ago, and Tariq really started to play a bunch at the end. So there's 3 guards right there. If Jayshawn's another guy, it's just got to stay out of foul trouble. But I thought Jayshawn had his best workout yesterday. Best workout since he's been here. And you know, I think everybody understands he may be our best athlete. He's a talented kid, and if he figures it out, that'll really help us.
A few years ago, you brought Casey Mitchell in, leading scorer in junior college play. Comparisons to him and Tavon, and he didn't quite. I mean, he had his moments, but he didn't quite reach, I think, maybe what you thought you were getting when you got him here.
Well, I think our guys would say he's the most talented guy we've had here. No. Casey. Yeah. I mean, I can remember when he came in for the visit, Deshaun came in my office and said, well, I guess I'm not going to be the leading scorer. I mean, Casey was really a talented guy. And Tavon's talented. He's not, you know, Casey was so strong and physical, you know, where Tavon's, I think, more like Dax and JC are.
Bob, what did Nate show you playing through that injury last year?
I didn't know he was hurt until Kansas City. I had no idea. He didn't tell anybody. He obviously played through a lot of pain. Nate's a tough guy. I think sometimes people look at Nate and don't think he's as tough as what he is. He's a tough guy. You know, his thing now is he's not as long as everybody else, but he compares himself to Holden. You know, well, who is? You know, but no, he's Nate's been extremely valuable, and he knows what's supposed to happen. He's really got a pretty good basketball IQ. I can get him and make an adjustment defensively with him. I can make an adjustment offensively with him. Now it helps if he makes a shot, because then they actually have to guard him. But you know, he played with a very painful wrist. He just couldn't get through the ball. He just couldn't snap it off.
Silly question, but if he shoots 35 or 40% from three-point range, what's the impact on you guys offensively in the half court?
Well, we expected him to. You know, I mean, I thought that was like the normal progression for him. Yeah, he shot it substantially worse than what he shot at his freshman year, and it's supposed to be the other way around. And that was all because of the injury. So, I mean, I think he showed a lot of guile, you know. And he knew we needed him, you know, so.
When you are with your coaches and you're talking about personnel, is point guard still the number one thing you guys talk about the most?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think is it something we talk about? Sure, but I wouldn't say it's the only thing. It's what we talk about the most. We lost a hell of a player. I mean, he's good. You know, at the end of the game, he didn't lose the ball. You couldn't trap him, and by and large, he made free throws. So, you know, it's pretty good when you just say give him the ball and get the hell out of his way. You know, and when he throws it to you, try to make a shot. Obviously, you missed that, you know. But at the same time, I think Javon Carter's pretty good. I really do, you know. And they're not going to help off of him. That's for sure. And I think as we continue to play games and stuff, he'll continue to get better and more comfortable.
Different player, though.
Yeah, a lot different. A lot different.
So that consequently, you adjust things based on what he does and how it fits what you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think, John, with everything they're doing, whether you like it or not, you're going to end up just seeing ball screens everywhere, you know. And he's different than Wani. You know, Wani was a guy who come off of ball screens and get it in the lane, where JC's probably a guy come off of ball screens to make shots. If they had called the game last year the way they called it the year before, the way they say they're going to call it again this year, I mean, you know how many times he went to the free throw line? You can't stay in front of him. And JC's a little different, but pretty good.
Coaches, since you talk about JC and Dax, and sounds like Adrian's getting better, Holden's shooting's getting better. Does this need to be a better shooting team? I mean, it sounds like it has the potential to be a better shooting team. Do you need it to be?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know that we'll get everything we got a year ago off the press. We led the country in steals. We led the country in forced turnovers. And, we're still going to rebound it. But, yeah, I mean, we're going to have to make more shots. But, Justin, you know, I mean, I think sometimes it gets lost in the fact that we played three freshmen, a ton of minutes. And we had a whole bunch of new guys. And we played without our only two seniors for an extended period of time. You know, they were pretty good. But they were young and inexperienced, and they've had another a really good summer in the weight room with Andy, and they're stronger. They're more confident. It's hard to make a shot when you're like, should I have shot this, or should I shoot it, or should I? You just gotta. The game happens too fast. That stuff about think about what you're doing is asinine. You don't have time to think. You just gotta react, and you react because you've just done it so many times that it becomes a reaction to you. It's not. You don't think about it. If you think about it, it's over. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you are, the easier it comes. And I think that'll help all of them. Nate's situation with his wrist, and he shot it well. He has shot it well. John Holden shot it well. And those guys, if you look at the stats from in the Bahamas, and that was longer than our three. That was the, yeah. So I think we potentially could be better at every position, other than we're going to miss those two guys, obviously. But I think as the season goes on, we'll miss them less and less and less.
What's your thought on the non-conference schedule in the Big 12?
Oh, I'm never going to get to 1,000 wins if I keep playing the people I'm playing. I don't know, man. I want to play in New York. Virginia's a top 5 team. That's. Everybody says those are good for you. They're good for you if you win. When you don't win, they're not very good for you. I mean, we need to go figure out a way to win. But we're playing, I think, a very competitive schedule. But we always have. I think that the stat that Mess told me, that we've won more games in the 8 years that we've been here than they have since Fred Schaus all the way through John Beeline against top 25 teams. Think about that. Now, obviously, we play a lot more of them. But play a lot more, you have more chances to beat them. But you also have more chances to lose. So.
In the Big 12?
Yeah,
in the Big 12, just...
Well, the poll that I saw, I think Kansas in the top 10, Iowa State's in the top 10, Oklahoma's in the top 10. Three teams in the top 10. We only have 10 teams. You ought to look at some of the stuff that Rob sends out about, with 10 teams, we have the second most first round picks. With 10 teams, we have the second most lottery picks. I think we have the second most draft picks. And everybody else got 16 teams. We got 10. It's amazing, the talent in that league. There's never been a league ever in the history of basketball where 60% of your coaches coached in the Final Four. Never. And at that, I think 3 of the other 4 have coached to the Elite 8. I mean, it's a very talented league player-wise, and it's a great coaches league. And I said it before. I mean, the Big East was great, 10 teams. 6 of them weren't very good. We don't have that bottom. It's a incredibly competitive team. 9 out of 10 teams last year were ranked at one point in time. 9 out of 10. That's never happened. That's never happened in the history of college basketball.
You have 3 games against top 10 teams. 3 teams, that means 6 games against top 10 teams because you play everybody twice.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Baylor's in the top 20.
Yeah.
Baylor's in the preseason top 20. Virginia's in the preseason top 10. Cal's in the top 20.
Spacing-wise, this looks pretty good, though. Other than the 3-game road trip you got there in December and January, and then Florida and Iowa State, it's
that's because you're not going. If you'd pack your camera and go along with us, you'd find out it's spacing.
Other than those 2 long road trips, though, it's home and away. It's not long.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm telling you now, it's when you get back at 4 or 5 in the morning, it's hard. I don't care who you are. It's hard. Get up and go to class and go to practice the next day. It's hard. I mean, I think our guys get used to it. I think the league has really tried to help. The university's done everything they can possibly do from, transportation standpoint and that kind of thing to alleviate, what it is. But it's still what it is. They're flying an hour, man. We're not. They don't have a time change. We do. It is, and all those guys have said, it's so much harder on your guys than it is on the other guys. We can't drive an hour down the road like Kansas does and Kansas State does.
Are you conscious of that in February? You try to keep the guys off their legs a little bit?
Mm-hmm. We don't practice near as much as we did. No, you're good.
When they talk about expansion in this league on the football side, does it make basketball coaches cringe at all? Because the round robin system seems to be a pretty good deal in basketball.
I just hope we don't do what they did with Conference USA. They kept diluting it for football. And at one time it was one of the better basketball leagues in the country, and then you keep diluting it to add football teams that had really bad basketball teams. I just, and I don't think they will. I really don't think they will. I think they're pretty set on, making sure that it remains the quality of league that it has been. I mean, Justin, when you think about it now, the Big 12 has got to be one of the best leagues in the history of college athletics in terms of football and basketball. I mean, when you look at how good the football teams are and how good the basketball teams are, it's incredible.
Coach, what was your initial reaction when you heard Hot Rod's statue was going to be outside the Coliseum?
I mean, Rod and I got along great. I mean, he loved coming back in here, and I think it's a neat thing. It's I think in a lot of ways we haven't paid homage to the greatness that has been our history and our past. I think we need to do a much better job at that. It's when you think about the run that we had with Hot Rod and Jerry and Rod and Fritz. I mean, there's a handful of people who have had a run like that with people that good.
Well, I know coaches have this internal focus, but what's your off-season reaction to Shaka and Prom coming into the league?
I know Shaka better than I know Coach Prom, but everybody in our league's going to have good coaches, because it's people want to coach in our league till they get in it. Then you start thinking, what did I do? But no, I mean, Shaka took VCU to the Final Four. What coach has done at Murray State's, that's we're going to pretty much get the best of the best. I mean, I'd sit around in those meetings and I'm looking around like, and I mean, we had it at the Big East to a degree, but we also had guys that you never heard of too. I mean, let's be honest, Some of them you haven't heard from since. That's right. But you sit there and you got Boeheim, Cowan, and I think the Big East is very smart. That's what they focused on. But you don't have to do that in this league.
Off topic, you mentioned a couple years ago that you might have had a conversation with someone who said expansion was definitely being talked about in the Big 12. Has that guy said anything else to you in the year and a half or 2 years since that led you to think that it's potentially imminent?
No. I think what, and I probably shouldn't say this because I'm not in on those meetings, is probably President Gee and Shane are probably better served to answer the question than I am, but I don't think they want to bring people in just to bring people in. You know, they have to bring something. And the truth of the matter is they have to increase our value. You know, why do you want to bring 2 teams in and cut up the pie 12 ways when you can cut it up 10? Yeah, and I think that's where we are. That's just my opinion, but I think that's where we are. And that makes sense. It's still a pretty good league. I mean,